Welcome back to Watching Film and Varnadore Film. I am Seth Varnadore. I'm a former college and high school football coach. Now I break down film here on YouTube with a particular emphasis on the Florida Gators. So Florida obviously needed a bit of a get-right game after the opener against Utah, where they really shot themselves in the foot for most of the game. Thought they had a chance in that game if they could have played clean. Obviously, they did not. So best cure is playing a really bad FCS team. McNeese State, not great. I think they're in the 90s in SP plus for FCS. So this was a game where Florida could kind of name their score, and I think for the most part they pretty much did. There wasn't a ton of struggle here. So let's get right to the film. There's not going to be as much as normal because you'll see the run game. There's not much you can learn from it. Defensively, I think you're so overmatched the opponent. You're not going to learn a ton. There's a couple things. We got a couple blitzes I like that we'll look at, and then look at a little bit of a couple run game things, but mostly the passing game, some new wrinkles, and then a couple kind of creative things. So let's get to it. All right, so we'll start first drive of the game. I just like this concept here. You end up having to drop it off, but the idea on this is, and it's something I think we saw them hit against Kentucky last year. We're up top. You have some type of deep route. It could be a go or a post. I'm not quite sure because we don't have the L22 here, but the motion man is going to turn it into a wheel. So if this corner really bails and gets out with a post, you have a chance to hit this wheel. You also have one coming to the flat and then another intermediate over the top. What ends up happening is you get a trigger by the McNeese player, but you have an automatic outlet with the flat player here. So right here, he triggers. He's opened right here to run with the wheel, or at least open to it. He doesn't know it's a wheel. If this guy triggers, you can drop it here for an easy gain. If he doesn't trigger, then you can hit that wheel right there. So this is kind of just a safety option, and this is, I think, where they'd like to get the ball. And I think Xavier Henderson caught one like this last year, I believe, against Kentucky. So that's the idea. I like the design. If you can kind of get to it, you should be able to get some shots. And now if the corner doesn't play and you have this eye candy in front of the safety, you could also get that post shot over the top. So like the design there. Coming back here, why am I not going to show a ton of run game? Just like watch when Montrell Johnson gets the ball here. You want to talk about like establishing a new line of scrimmage? Like there's not anytime they run in zone, they could just pick up chunk yards. So I'm not going to show 100 zones. There was a beautiful one later in the game that Etienne scored on. It was like a picture perfect look at it, untouched, I believe. So yeah, they could have just, if they wanted to, just line up and ran zone all night probably and been fine. I put this one in here. I liked it. It's I believe you get some type of corner here, a post. I put this one in because this is a pretty similar, the jet motion. This is similar to one that a concept Dan Mullen ran a ton in his last year. Ran it a bunch against Alabama. If you remember the catches that Keon Zipper had against Alabama, where he's kind of running this drag across, this is what they came on. So you had the back wheeling out. And so if this guy turns to run with the back, you're going to get the tight end coming back across here. And that's an easy money play. It's actually the first play. If you watched LSU and Florida State last week, the first big play LSU had where they threw it to the back out of the backfield, it was this play. So this one's gained some popularity, and it's a good concept, right? So this guy turns with the back to run. Now you're getting the tight end coming back across here. If this guy were to play flat or kind of be flat-footed, then you can take your shot to the back on the wheel. Drop it down, pick up the first down. Right here, I think this is a misread by Mertz here. So you're going to have this here, and basically he's running a screen down here, and then you've got your run game in here. It looks like we're just running kind of zone here. then Mertz is reading it. Now it's kind of gets muddy because maybe, who's the read here, or is there even a read? But if there is, and this guy triggers inside, now Mertz should be pulling that. And now this guy's blocked by Pearsall. And now what's he going to do? If he comes to get me, I just flip it out right here. If he stays outside with Wilson, I'll just walk in the end zone, right? So this is one I think he probably could have pulled it. There wasn't a ton of negatives. Right here is one. You could have pulled it. And then right here, if this guy wants to jump in like that, thank you very much. I'll throw it out to him, and he'll probably score. More touches for that dude, however you can get him. And they got him some creative ones. So, and we'll get to that. Probably the last run play of the night. Kind of a super power look. So not just power, but super power. So power, right? You got down blocks on the front side. Pull check. Pulling and wrapping. Fullback is kicking out the end man. And this is like a super power. So you get the wrapper, the kick out, and then you also get this extra guy coming in here. So it's kind of a super souped up version of power. Kick, wrap. If the puller gets through clean, the back might not get touched here. Good job on the front side. You can see opening up that hole. And easy touchdown. But like seeing Florida run some more gap stuff, they were really good with it. They're really good with it in week one. Even though they didn't run a ton of it, their gap stuff was really good. So like this concept here as well. So you bring the safety down. You're obviously playing some type of man coverage, right? Or actually, you bring I was mistaken here. You actually bring the safety. You're this is more of a right. You almost like a creeper, right? This guy's going to drop out. He's going to widen. He's going to loop inside. I thought it was man because you see how the back. I think the linebacker's playing off the back here, but they're playing some type of zone up top with a drop here. But that's right. You get this right here. He's going to go inside. There, drop off underneath. And then I think he's eyeing the back here. So when the back stays in the block, right there, here's the back coming to get Mitchell here as he's coming through. There's the back. Well, now this linebacker knows I can trigger on this. I don't have a responsibility anymore. I can add on to the rush. And boy, does he ever. Oof. That was one you saw live and you're like, oh, boy, I hope that dude's all right. Because this was and you also, every time you see a hard hit, you're looking for a flag, right? Because of how flag happy they get with the physical side of the game. But I thought this was a great design here. Drop that guy here, drop him, almost get home with this, make him get in the protection. And now as this guy gets flushed, thank you very much. And that's so nice. We can watch it again one more time. Oof. All right, back to the offense. Like the design here, right? If you want to get the ball in your playmaker's hands, 3 is one of those guys. I like the design here for the screen, especially with an off corner. Because it's tough. I'm going to spend a lot of time going to him if he's off and let this guy just trigger downhill. Well, this is just like the power play we watched a few plays ago on the goal line. Why are those plays so successful on the front side, especially? Because you have good angles to block. So I can come down here and I have a good angle and I can really pin this guy inside. And since he's so far off, just exchange responsibilities and you go get him. And now you've got a lead blocker for this guy. So like the design there, right here, good angle. He's pinned. He's out of the play basically. And that's just there's a really easy way to pick up 12 yards. And then what starts happening there, you get people you can't, right? I think a lot of people are looking for, even though they get one later in the game. Where's kind of the big explosive passes? Well, if the corner is going to play 15 yards off, you got to bring them up, right? And that's the kind of things you can do to bring them up. More motion here. I like this. I don't this maybe like by the numbers, this isn't a perfect decision. I like it because right, this guy's sniffing in the run game. He's sniffing on the backside. What was a big issue week 1, right? You just got guys sniffing at the run game. Make them get out of there. So if it's borderline right here, you could say maybe he's starting to widen out, but I also think him versus him, yes, please, I take him, right? So give it to him and let him do something open space. You get 4 yards, you get yourself in 3rd and 1, but really, like, you get this guy out of the box. Now, maybe like if I give it here and have a good play? I mean, probably. But getting him out of the box and maybe getting him out of the box more often for the rest of the game and still picking up 4 yards, that's a good play. So I like it. All right, so you try to get a little shot play here, but you can see right at the snap, right? Middle of the field close, like one high safety. You're not going to get a ton of shots over the top. And you see how McNeese was playing a lot, where they had 1, 2, and 3 safeties, which typically is like a version of 3 or a version of like Tampa 2, like a new version of Tampa 2 where this guy's like the pull runner. They're kind of similar. It changes a little bit the distribution of the underneath defenders, but for all intents and purposes, you got 3 deep over the top. And just watch the guy I got marked number 1 here, right at the snap here. He's turning and getting deep. So you've got deep post, deep crosser, and then the flat, and then you got some check downs that can get out as well if the rush doesn't get there. But I'm fine with this, right? I think a lot of people, Graham Mertz's career, you look at the interception totals, and you're thinking, this guy just doesn't turn the ball over. I think he'll be all right. Well, right here, if you want to try to force one, maybe you turn that thing over. Now, is it possible that this crosser's coming there? But I like that it's decisive, right? I thought this was a small issue at times last week, not often, but the quicker you can get through things, bang, cancel it, drop it down. Like 1st and 10, if I pick up 5 or 6, that's a good play. And obviously, I think to win a lot of games, you're going to have to pick up some explosives. But if you're picking up 5 and 6 yards on 1st down, instead of holding it and getting sacked or taking off and running or forcing the ball into coverage and for an interception, 5 yards sounds pretty good. So here we go. Little razzle dazzle here. But it's not what's great about these kind of plays is for these guys up front, nothing really changes. They're just running a similar track they would on. This is basically just I'm running outside zone track. He becomes a lead blocker, and then he's just coming back around for like a reverse action. What I like about this, and I wrote about it in my piece for GatorsBreakdown.com. You don't have to show this in this game. This is a deliberate choice to show this. Why? Because I'm certain, right? There's this. I'm certain there's a give reverse where he throws it to somebody else. There might even be like a give reverse where this guy runs a screen over here too. Like there's a bunch of things you can do off of it, but I'm making the defense see this and waste time on it, right? And I'm sure I have a bunch of variations off of it. But this initial variation, the reverse action, I think a lot of people see this and they're thinking, oh, it's going to be a reverse pass. And just kind of watch the play you get just from the reverse action here. And really all this guy needs is for people to stop for a half second, right? So you see you get play from these guys. He's initially looked like he's tracking outside. He kind of slows down a little bit, and that allows ETN to hook him. right? As he starts to widen out, then he sees the reverse. He stops. Oh, now he's hooked. And that's really all this guy needs. I thought this might have been a touchdown here. I'm not sure what they said on the broadcast, but it's close. Ford ends up punching it anyways, but would have been nice to reward that guy with a touchdown on that play. All right, here's another one. Another blitz I liked. Bringing a fourth from depth, and then you got guys wrapping around. Right, so he starts here. He ends up wrapping all the way around. And then you push him right back to your rush. So I like, I think the defense has been just fine through 2 games. This game you can't see a lot, but I just like the design of the blitz here, especially you show him here and then loop him all the way back around. I'm not sure if one or both of these guys was a back player, and then they could trigger once the back stayed in protection. He looks like he may be with him. It might be the actual call might be here. And he's kind of off. But once the back steps up in protection, you can see him match him and then wrap. Watch the backer there, match the back, and now he stays in. He attacks, pushes him back to your defensive end, Princely, for a nice sack there. Right, back to the offense. Put this one in. All right, this is another run play. I told you there weren't be many of them, but why'd I put this one in? You got a little RPO here. Could you maybe held it and try to throw it out here? I like that, but I'm okay. Technically, right, depending on who my read is here, he looks like he's got eyes here. If this guy was really fly in, which I think is really what they're hoping, right? If you're going to bring, a 7th guy into the box here, then I'm going to pull it and throw it. But you could, with him being so far inside, I think you could easily whip that thing out there if you wanted to. And then that, with him kind of driving on that, that's a one-on-one. He breaks it. He breaks that. He's gone. So wouldn't mind him pulling and throwing this thing outside, right? It doesn't have to be here. It can be, because I'm probably reading it inside out. So he comes in like that. And I see there's like he's in the window. Bang, come out here immediately, let it rip. But you weren't going to have any problems this game handing these things off either. So no problem there. But just wanted to show that they did have a little RPO element in this game as well. Right, you run enough screen. You got to run the screen and go. Florida hits it a couple different ways on this drive. I don't know. Pearsall may hate this play because this is the same one that got him lit up, or pretty similar. Got him lit up last year against Texas A&M. So this may not be his favorite here, but if you're going to run those screens, you got to have this in. Great job holding on there, and good design, right? As much screen as you do, especially if you're doing these cross blocking of it, like they showed in one of the first plays I showed where they cross block it off when Pearsall's off motion. This is an easy add-on there to generate some kind of explosive plays in the passing game. So good throw, good catch. Same thing here. Now they're going to slow it down a little bit. We got the screen guy in motion. He's actually going to engage for a second, try to get things to run off more, and then try to get lost there. Pretty good ball here. He's got to be. This might be a flashback here, so maybe a little high. This might be one. Maybe you can put a little air, let him run to it here-ish. But again, I like the design. If you're going to throw these screens, you got to have these constraint plays off of it. So that's what I thought was missing a little bit in the run game week 1 is, okay, so they're taking away the run. What's the net. What's the answer? You want to have these built-in answers, right? So if they do this to take away that, I'm going to run this. A little bit of like an if-then statement, right? So if they're flying up to take away these screens, I'm going to run screen and go. And just a little high. Yeah, that's probably a little bit. Not the best ball there, but I put this screen on. This is like blocked okay. But why I'm putting these on is I haven't seen a ton of people. Now, I don't really watch anybody else, so I don't know if anybody is talking about it. But Florida is doing a ton of double screens. So they're running this screen down here. And they're also running a screen up here. And you can watch the linemen up. Right? The linemen are releasing for this screen up here as well. So you've got a double screen going. The quarterback, he may be reading the linebackers. I'm not sure what he's reading, if it's a pre-snap look or something, or if it's based on somebody's movement. But you've actually got two screens called. Yeah, there you go now, right? So you got two screens called in one play. Quarterback makes the decision which way to go. Good to see a young guy like Webb get in there and do some really good stuff with the ball in his hands. I think you got to feel pretty good with the staff's evaluation so far. And, I think the big thing in the fan base in the last recruiting class was the player average was really high. So you wish you could have signed more of them, but the average is really good. And you're seeing a lot of these guys are playing immediately and playing really well. So you have to feel pretty good about that. So here's another one. Trying to take a shot. I think this may be the corner here. The deep over. I thought you could have had the corner here. As he goes, I thought maybe if you have a deep angle, but I see this guy's kind of lurking. I think he's maybe trying to bait him into this throw because he still has a chance to turn and run there. I wouldn't mind. It seems like he held on this a little too long. I wish you could kind of cancel that earlier. Maybe you have a chance to hit the crosser there, but I'm okay with him tucking it and running it. You probably still could have thrown it out to Wilson. That's never a bad choice, but that's fine. Tuck it and run it if you don't like what you got. And what's interesting here is you can't really see, but as he's coming across, is this guy triggering down on the crosser? Maybe that's why Mertz doesn't throw it. And if that's true, guess that's what that sets up later. That sets up the bomb to Pearsall for a touchdown. So getting information from the box coaches is always important. Put this one on here. You basically have curl flat to the top and kind of more of a spacing look here. So curl, flat. So I think this is one where you feel pretty good, kind of regardless of the coverage. You can work both sides. And then he's not going to be a flat player. He's actually going to curl up in front. And so this Pearsall is able to kind of work the hole in the zone here. And you can see it better from the back view will show. As he curls here, you kind of have this linebacker trigger on him, and that opens the hole. This is like an overused term, but I think Mertz kind of throws this one open. You'll see Pearsall's coming in here. Here comes Johnson right there. That'll occupy him. And so you're kind of high-low on that guy. If he were to really turn and run with this thing, you could drop it to the back, and he could pick up the first down probably. And by throw open, he doesn't just throw it right here. He throws it kind of into this zone over here away from this guy to pick up the first down there. So, all right, second half. Again, you've got a double screen here. And these have not all been the same as what you've seen in the previous games, right? This has been a little bit different. So it looks like you're here. And then you're out there. You got the flare screen down there. Then on the bottom, you're running off. And from the slot coming back. And now he's going to come out flat and kick right there. So again, I'm not sure if this is predetermined or if he's got a pre-snap look he likes, or if it's like a box count or a numbers count to either side of the center, or if he's watching the way the linebacker opens. But you've got two screens packaged together, which I think is interesting and gives the quarterback the freedom to kind of choose one or the other. All right, so again, another look at it, and this is you're gathering information here as you run these things. You're trying to get shots over the top. You'd like to get the post over the top if you can here. Use the deep crosser as eye candy, and then drop it off here. One thing I wrote about in my piece at GatorsBreakdown.com is how often this passing game gets receivers to similar landmarks, but brings them from different places on the field. But for the quarterback, you're still getting guys in similar landmarks where I got a guy going deep at kind of this landmark. I got a guy coming intermediate at this landmark, and I got a short guy at this landmark. So your reads can be somewhat similar, and kind of the way you can progress through the play can be somewhat similar. And you'll see a good example of where you get a play pretty much similar to this later that Max Brown hits, where your landmarks end up being about the same, but everybody's on the top side, right? So instead of bringing the guy across the formation, he's on the same side of the formation. I think that makes the teaching progression easier for the quarterbacks. But again, here, so you've got, I think you get somebody to take the crosser, you get somebody to get over the top of the post, right? So they're obviously taking the crosser. Again, I like that March just doesn't try to wait on it. Just drop it down, let him go to work. Just keep giving him touches. And then here you kind of get to like almost a Y cross-ish look, right? But it's not too dissimilar to what you just ran in terms of, I got a deep guy probably running a post here. Let's get a better post than that. He's probably running the post. I've got the intermediate guy here. And then I've got the flat guy. Now, earlier in the game, at some point, they did run true Y cross where you had a dig back behind this, but they ran this thing out of two tight ends, probably for protection purposes, possibly. But, right, Y cross, the air raid Y cross, you see Lincoln Riley run it every week. You see a guy, Kitley at Texas Tech running every week. You got a guy deep. He could run a go or a post, right? You got a guy in the flat over here away from the crosser. You got the deep crosser coming across, and then that usually has a dig attached to the backside of it, right? But Florida's basically doing that without the dig to the backside. Now, they did earlier in the game. They did have a receiver out here, and he ran the dig. But with the double tight, you get the deep shot here. You get the deep crosser, and you get the player to the flat. So I think this is somewhat of a version of Y cross, but also kind of a different version of flood. They kind of mix and match between those two a little bit. And then you do get some play after here from the back there. So, but the deep post clears it out. The play action sucks up the backers enough. You get the intermediate play over the top there. And then here's your shot play, right? So if you're getting a lot of play on the crosser and they take this thing really deep, and I wish we had a different view to see kind of if they were stacked, because Florida did kind of experiment with some stacked alignments, but at worst they're close, and you see how this kind of gets that alignment. He's playing way outside and he's playing inside. They're not in that traditional kind of 3 safety look here where they got 3 guys kind of in the middle here. So he's able to get across here. It's a deep crosser. It's almost even like a really flat post across the field. And then you get the deep shot over the top here. As soon as he turns around with all this space you've created with your formation, he's done. He's got no chance. Good timing, good ball. And that was all set up with all the other crossers and things you got to see earlier in the game. So good concept here. And also a good man concept, because what they also tagged with it down here is a hitch. So if they were playing man across the board, he'd jump on the hitch and you'd have that whole area for that deep crosser to run to. So you kind of get another look. Just like I said, they like to get guys to the same landmarks from different places. You basically get a look at my favorite play, which is smash. We got somebody in the flat, somebody in the corner. They're just bringing the guy from the corner from this side here, but I'm getting to the same spot. So really like the design here and good execution. Hit him pretty much in stride for the touchdown. And then this is the look, right? We talked about the flood earlier, how they get to it. He's in a motion in here. Vertical. Again, it's hard to tell if he goes post or not, but he's going to be the intermediate guy, right? We saw Pearsall be the intermediate guy from across the field. He's going to do it from the same side here. And then you have the flat player coming across here. So flat player, intermediate player, and then they've also tagged this guy. So if these guys really fly out really hard, let's say he gets underneath that and he flies out hard, you've got that coming back too. So, and good throw here from your backup quarterback to a young receiver. So, all right. The game was a bit of a laugher, but good work. You got to see some good stuff from the passing game, a little bit of variety. Obviously, you're going to need to be a little bit more explosive, I think, to win a bunch of games. But if you can start to generate some explosives, either through running catch stuff or just shots over the top, you can couple that with a good running game and have some success on offense. Defensively, I think you've played pretty well through 2 weeks, but I don't think you've played great offensives either. So you'll have a test next week, and that should be a pretty big game, and that should probably be a longer video, especially if Tennessee runs like 90 plays on offense, which their former offensive coordinator did at USF in week 1. They're in 95 plays. So we'll see. Hopefully we get another fun weekend next week. We're coming off a Florida victory. But either way, we'll be back next week to break down that game. Thanks for watching.